goodness. Welcome to The Cup, the Currently Unnamed Podcast, where the tea is piping hot and we're always ready to spill. I'm Logan Murphy, just a gay, drinking G Fuel, but today we're using a lovely mug that I pulled off of my mug stand, which is literally 6 inches away from me. It's the good old I don't sweat, I sparkle.
We love that for you. And I am Lana, your resident diva, coming at you, giving you the bonnet life today
Yes.
because, why not? And I am not drinking anything today. I left my cup empty because I'm ready to get it filled up with all the tea.
You were going to fill it up with all that ocean water in that sweat task. Oh boy, the differences a whole season makes.
Yes, we are here to discuss Survivor 42.
I have to say, I loved this premiere.
That is very shocking and lovely and exciting that you are excited about the premiere because usually, my dear friend Logan, we get from you, it was meh. I like it, but meh. It's okay, but
I was not prepared to be read by Lana on an international platform today, but it's fine. I'll take it.
I knew.
Sure.
It was just
You're not wrong in the slightest.
I was about to say, if I'm wrong, say I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong at all. No, not in the slightest. But yeah, no, I actually, I think honestly a lot of it has to do with just the fact that we're still trudging through Australian Survivor.
Mm.
And that this was Survivor, but very different. And it felt classic, but reimagined. And it felt like Survivor 41 2.0.
Yes. It was a lot of, I felt like, I think I get the excitement and the whole thing of new cast, new people, the fact that they did not get to watch last season, so they didn't know what to expect coming into this season of all the changes that they made on Survivor, bringing it back to very basic Survivor. And so the fact that we get to see 2 seasons back to back where each group can both say they played the same game or with the little few twists and didn't know anything is exciting. Because, going into seasons, we have people like, okay, I saw what they did this last season. I saw them do this part last season.
Zach.
Right.
Zach.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a lot about Zach because I really, really like him and I feel like he is me. I honestly felt such a this is me. This is exactly how I would be in this circumstance. That's how I would.
You know what?
Yeah.
I didn't think about that, but now that you said it, I can see you in Zach, and I can see, I can see all of your good strengths in Zach. But I can also see
all of
the bad ones as well. But and the reason why I feel like, we'll talk about Zach, but I feel like this is the trajectory of this game for Zach was because of very much he's so much a super fan.
So ready to do it. Yeah.
So ready to do it all. And we got a lot to talk about with that.
It feels like, because I don't have nearly as much Survivor knowledge as I do Big Brother knowledge. I'll say that. So I would go into Survivor I haven't memorized puzzles like Evie, and I haven't watched every single season multiple times like Zach. But for me, it would be if I somehow ever got on Big Brother and they were so actually we're changing the entire format. And there's 2 HOHs, there's 5 nominees. If it literally changed to a UK format, for people that aren't familiar with BBUK, that would be the thing that would throw me off. So I understand where Zach is coming from in that regard.
I agree. I feel like I would spiral. Like,
Absolutely.
what? Because you come in with a certain knowledge
A
of things.
baseline understanding of what you're getting yourself
Mm-hmm.
into.
And then for them to flip it up, and you like, what? Hold on.
And I think High as well was someone that we saw throughout this premiere, kind of like not really exactly sure where he was at either, because we know he's also a big fan of the game. And he was the one when Jeff talked on the starting beach about not getting rice. He was the one that you saw with the subtitle going, "No rice? Like what?" And we saw him, especially in the early parts of the episode, really like start to overthink things a little bit. Which I guess is a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
I did note down who got the intro like chunks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so they got their own little like highlight in the intro, and then also who got the like short clips where Jeff is like 40 or 26 days, a new format, blah blah blah. So, because if there's anything Australian Survivor has taught
Mm-hmm.
us, it's
Exactly.
to pay attention to the edit. I actually want to go back, and I think I will, hopefully, if I remember by the time we come back and talk about episode 2 of this season. I want to go back and look at the intro package for season 41.
Okay.
And I hate to compare the two seasons, but we're going to be doing that a lot throughout this whole season, I fear.
Almost definitely.
And I want to look at who was featured in the intro package, because I remember Shan, and that's the only person I remember being featured specifically. I think it was Shan, and I think JD was also featured. Those are the two that I think I remember being featured. So I want to go back and look. Hopefully, if I remember, I'll have that info for y'all the next time our episode 2 video comes out. But intro packages, full on like intro lines. We got 4 of them. The first being Jonathan, which I'm really not surprised at all.
Oh my.
That didn't sound good.
I mean, loud cars. Oh my God. I hate
Just
it.
a bit.
I hate it.
I have the same problem. I get it. But yeah, Jonathan was the first one. I'm really not surprised that we got a Jonathan feature. Sure. Drea got the second feature, which very happy to see. I am happy to report, very happy about Drea, loving Drea. Cannot wait to talk about Drea. Someone that surprised me throughout this whole episode, the third intro little package went to Omar, who I'm loving.
I actually do like him.
Loving Omar. And the fourth one, I was so happy because it went to Lydia. Oh, I love Lydia. Oh, Lydia's so good. I'm obsessed with her. I don't know if you saw, so I followed her on Twitter, which is one of the best decisions I've made in a very long time. And she talked about, it was something to do with how she got cast on the show, being that she ran into Jeff Probst practically blackout drunk at some function in Los Angeles. And that contributed to her getting cast on this season.
Oh. Okay.
So I have no choice but to stand at this point.
Apparently, obviously, Jeff felt the same way. If he met someone who was like passed out drunk, blackout drunk, and was like, "That's who we need to put on the show."
Very that. I know that's happened to a few people in the past. I can't remember who. Because again, I don't have the encyclopedic knowledge of Survivor that honestly I'd like to have. I just don't really have the time to go back and watch a lot of the seasons. I have watched all of them, but I don't have the time to go back. But yeah, so they got the 4 full features, as I'll call them. And then the partial features, we had Daniel, Mariah, which I would have never guessed that's how you say her name.
Me either.
But I will be remembering like Mariah Carey. That's how I'm going to remember it personally. So it was Daniel, Mariah, Lindsay, High, and Mike. Okay. Were the people that got the sort of mini features, if you will. We get on the beach. They are they're all freaking out because, oh my God, they're on Survivor. And the first thing I wrote down, all caps, I love Marianne. I knew I would.
Right.
I knew I would. I'm not surprised. But God, I love her. Like, she is just one of the best. I will say the best casting choice since Angelina on David versus Goliath. And there is one episode so far, but I know Miss Marianne will be providing the entertainment, and I cannot wait.
I love her as well. She's like a ball of sunshine and goodness and light and entertaining funness. Like, she's giving me everything that I wanted to see. And like I said, it's just episode 1, but I am a stan. Like, I knew from the second I saw her picture in the cast photo and that bright smile, I was like, this woman is going to be amazing. And she has not proved me wrong at all. No. She is just a ball of just sunshine, and I love it.
I was trying to think of who she reminded me of, and I was talking to my roommate because my roommate also watches Survivor, and he actually came up with a really interesting comparison from a more recent season. He said that Marianne reminds him of Wendy from Edge of Extinction. Do you remember Wendy with the blue hair? She was the last person, I believe, the last person voted out before merge.
Didn't she quit the Edge of Extinction?
Did she?
I can't remember. I remember somebody leaving the island was like, no, thank you. But I can't remember.
I believe, you're right. No, that was her.
I was right?
I believe so. Someone fact check us.
Fact check me if I'm wrong, because I don't know for sure. But I think I kind of remember the blue hair. And I remember the blue hair saying, no thanks, I'm not sticking on this island. I think. I could be wrong.
I remembered the only person that had done that being Sandra, honestly.
No, it was definitely somebody else. It wasn't just Sandra. I do remember Sandra saying, no, I'm not staying on no island. That makes no sense.
Okay. Yeah, you are partially correct, because she was not the only person to quit Edge of Extinction. But she did quit Edge of Extinction along with someone named Keith, who I don't remember.
I remember her leaving, or people leaving. Like, I knew on Edge of Extinction, more than one person left the island.
They left together. They
were just like, no, thank you. I don't want to sit here. And because they were like, I'm not good at challenges. Going back and trying to fight, especially with the people who were staying on the island, they were like, no, thank you. I remember, oh, look at me knowing some Survivor facts.
Period. I love that.
I may not know her name, but I remember her blue hair leaving.
Edge of Extinction is a blur to me, and all I remember is the iconic Reem. Like, that's all I remember, honestly.
And it's so funny, I don't remember Reem. Like, everybody talks about Reem, and I'm like, I don't remember. I have to go back and watch all these Survivors again.
Right.
I really feel like I need to go back and start from season 1 and just watch.
Honestly, yeah.
Honestly, I feel like I want to know more and because I do enjoy Survivor and I love Survivor as much, since we're definitely talking about it and covering it. I enjoy it and I watch it, of course, but it's just like I can't remember all the details of it.
Same.
And I feel like I need to go back and watch it just so I can get that mojo going again of my love and devotion for Survivor, as much as I have for Big Brother, because I can tell you almost everything about Big Brother. I just can't tell you everything about.
Like, for me, like my encyclopedic reality TV knowledge is in Drag Race. That'll come as a surprise to no one. And I could tell you a lot of the thing. I would say my knowledge of Big Brother is about like an 80%.
That's
the
a
US
good
franchise.
number.
I would say it's about 85 to 90 for BB Can. It's probably because there's less seasons. So for me, like, I know BB Can, and BB Can is my preferred franchise, so I know it a little bit better. Survivor, I would honestly say 40% maybe. And I don't like that, because I did watch Survivor growing up. Like, my two shows were Amazing Race and Survivor. And so growing up, I watched those, but then there was a long period of time where I didn't watch.
Yes, that's what I feel like. I feel like I missed a bunch, but I can't remember what I missed.
I remember the last season I remember watching as a child was Gabon. Because I
See,
remember Bob winning.
okay.
And
See,
then I took a long break until I went to college, honestly. And then that's where I fell in love with that's where my love of Big Brother truly flourished
mm-hmm,
because I dated someone who loved Big Brother, so we like
mm-hmm.
it was a good time for that. Um it's still fine. He's engaged to someone else, so good on you, Nick. Um but
Okay.
like I remember, so there was a good stretch of time from Gabon until I think the first season I watched live in my adulthood was Game Changers.
Mm.
And then I kind of went back and filled in my knowledge a little bit. Or actually, it may not have been Game Changers. It might have been San Juan del Sur. And see, everything's blurry, which is why I should just go back and watch all of them as well. But
Yeah. Anyway,
maybe at some point when we have less things to cover, maybe we do a Survivor
re-
podcast from season 1.
and recaps.
I would be so on board for that, honestly.
I
Like, I
wouldn't
think that'd be a
mind.
lot of fun.
I think so. I wouldn't mind it.
No. So maybe that's in the works. Who knows? When we're less busy with Big Brother.
Everything
So
else.
October, maybe.
Maybe. But yes, so yeah.
We're on the beach. We're still on the beach. It's 17 minutes into this episode. And we're still on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I loved this moment where Jeff asks, oh God, who did he ask first? What it takes to win Survivor. I don't remember. I didn't write it down. But what I did write down was good old Zach, where Jeff asks Zach what it takes to win Survivor. And he says, we're about to find out. And Jeff's like, what does that mean? And Zach's like, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to sound cool. And like, that's me. It's me. I would do the same thing. I'd be like, what does it take to win Survivor? I honestly, my response would probably be charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. Honestly, like that's probably what I would say. I would just throw something out there and see if Jeff is like, ooh, yes, Survivor wisdom. Yes. Yes, Survivor wisdom. But anyway, we dive into the first challenge of the season. You know, this is a slightly unique marooning challenge. Something like this happened on 41, right? They jumped off the boat.
Mm-hmm.
So, but this one, they were on the beach, and so you have to have one person run into the jungle and get paddles off of this cargo net that is so eloquently and very, very naturally built in this jungle. It was there the whole time, you know, they didn't have to put it up or anything like that. So one person has to grab that, another person has to run down the beach, grab 2 more paddles, then you have to paddle out and grab materials off of a buoy in the middle of the ocean, come back and make a pole long enough to grab your flint. And the first tribe to do that gets flint off the bat. So the first leg running into the jungle, we have Jonathan for Taku, Daniel for Vati, and Tori for Ika, or as I'm calling them, the Ika Wong tribe. If you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, it feels fitting because Ika got engaged.
Love that for them.
Check out our BB Can review whenever we talk about that episode. I don't know when that's happening, but it'll happen.
At
Who
some point.
knows? But yeah, so they all come back. Tori is actually first out of the jungle, but she falls.
Oh.
And so Jonathan overtakes her. So it's Jonathan back first for Taku with Tori right on his heels, and then Daniel in a respectable third, but then he falls and gets up, and immediately I was like, that man's shoulder is dislocated.
Oh,
that is way his arm fell, I was like, that's a dislocated shoulder. Yep. So then running down the beach for the second part of the paddle retrieval is Lindsay for Taku, Drea for Drea for Ika, and Hai for Vati. And this is where we saw this in the trailer, but we get the first dilemma of the season in the first challenge 10 minutes after they've landed.
Mm-hmm.
They really said, we are not wasting a single moment of this season.
Nope.
So Lindsay, Drea, and Hai all get to this place. I'm very glad that Lindsay didn't just run off with the paddles, because I feel like a producer was there to be like, Lindsay, stop. And we just didn't hear it. Lindsay, read the board. But we didn't hear it. So Lindsay, Hai, and Drea at this thing. We find out that they have a dilemma where they can just go ahead and run back with their paddles. Or they can all mutually agree to take an advantage where you have to, in order to get it, you have to untie 20 knots and then go back with your paddles. Now, this was a very interesting first moment, because literally not only do these people not know each other, but none of them are on the same tribe.
Right. So
it becomes an interesting situation where I believe it was Hai that was like, just go with your gut. It was either Hai or Drea, and I don't remember who. But one of them was like, just go with your gut. And apparently all of their guts were saying good things, because they all mutually agree to take the advantage. We'll talk about the advantages later, because they do go and often read them. But yeah, and then in order to fake how long they've been down there, they give them mud and fake blood and like jungle stuff to put all over them. And I will say, I appreciate that at least they gave them some sort of cover, because I feel like on other seasons they wouldn't have done that.
They would just went them back and they'd be like, what took y'all so long?
So they're covering themselves in mud and blood. I guess it's far. It must have been a far enough like run to where like they couldn't hear them.
Right. I'm sure it was.
That's what I was concerned about, because they were like laughing at one point, and I'm like, I hope y'all like aren't being heard. But they all run back. They run back at pretty much the same time, but Lindsay is the first person to get back for Taku. So they're paddling out. Taku takes a strong lead with Vati and Ika kind of close behind. They all get back to the beach eventually, and Mariah has a very big advantage for Taku in the pole building. We then see Hai and Roxroy as the two other pole builders. And this ends up being a fairly close challenge, but Roxroy does pull it out for the Aikawang tribe, and they win the first challenge, meaning they get basic human necessities.
Yay.
So they win a pot, a machete, and a flint. And that's it.
Yep.
That was kind of a gag, I'm not going to lie. Like, I knew it was coming because it was the same format as Survivor 41, and even then I was still like, oh yeah, they get nothing.
They get nothing.
Literally nothing.
Yeah, I feel like I have mixed feelings about that. Like, I love that they're going back to, to basic Survivor. We talked, even with 41, we talked about that. I'm like, I like the fact that they're doing, the whole basic, you have to start from scratch kind of thing. This is Survivor. Like,
yeah,
you can't be pampered in Survivor and get everything handed to you.
Australian Survivor. What?
But, like, I also feel like, come on, you have to give them something. Like, even the bare necessities, like the pot and the machete and the flint, yeah, that's great. But like something. I think rice should always be an essential item that they give them at the beginning. Like, you don't have to give them a whole bunch of rice, because they have to forage for food eventually. But give them a small bag of rice. Be like, this is your rice for the entire season, the entire game.
Sure.
Use it
Yeah.
wisely, or once it's out, it's out. There's no getting more. Like, giving them something so it's not like day one you're going in with nothing. Like, I feel like it should be a
Yeah.
little something, something.
And I don't necessarily remember the lack of food being a huge factor in any like game decisions last season. I remember like Shan was one that I distinctly remember talking a lot about the lack of food because it took her a while to win a reward.
Mm-hmm.
So she was one of the people that like severely dealt with that. I think Erica was another one where she didn't get a reward for a while or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, she was on the winning tribe for all of
The first
Greenwich.
half.
So yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
she whatever. But yeah, Shan, I think Ricard also talked a little bit about it because they were on the losing tribe for most of it. So I just don't know if starving these people is a good idea because also like on the one hand, I saw a lot of people talking online about like, yeah, but there's like fruit in the jungle or whatever. But also like you can't control the amount of fruit that's going to be given on any particular like island. So unless you surveyed it and like cultivated these crops yourself, which honestly they might have because they've been filming in the same location for 8 years now.
Right.
So like they may have been like cultivating all of this stuff, but honestly they probably weren't. And because they had to take 2 years off because of the pandemic, like who knows? The point is, I just don't know if we need to be starving people on national television. That's the point I'm trying to make here.
I think not day one. Like, I get you trying to do Survivor, but I feel like the bare bones necessity of everything. Like, give them some rice, give them a small portion of rice. One bag of rice, a 10-pound bag of rice. That's it. That's
Not
all
even. I would do like a 3-pound bag of rice.
Even
honestly.
a 3-pound bag, right? Because like that's it.
That's gonna last them. Well, and it's difficult also because the game is shorter, so they can get away with doing that. And there's a lot of
okay. Give them a pound of rice. Give them
Sure.
1 pound of rice. If it's 26 days, give them 1 pound of rice. That is not going to fill their bellies with a lot of food.
Because
Anything.
I don't want to watch people starve. That's not enjoyable for me. It's enjoyable for some people, sure, but it's just not enjoyable for me. Like I'm not. Anyway, we have to move on.
Yeah.
But before we do, my theories as I was watching the episode were 100% correct. And before, is it? Oh God, which tribe is it? Oh, Vati. It's going to take me a minute to get the tribes. This is one season where I'm not getting the tribe distributions very easily. It's Taku and Vati that I get confused a lot for some reason.
Because you know the Ikawang tribe.
Ikawang tribe, period. But so as I thought watching the episode, Daniel fully dislocates his shoulder and then gets it relocated. And I was like, because
I have seen people get their shoulders dislocated and then relocated back in while I was sitting there. And it is the most cringiest thing I can ever. I can't stomach it. I can't watch it.
I've assisted in a shoulder relocation.
Oof, no, thank you.
Because one of the random really weird things that I used to do in high school, I worked with the athletic training department at my high school. So I worked some of the football games and fully assisted. I didn't do the relocating, obviously, because again, I was a minor at that point. But I was there like making sure the guy was okay, and he was a friend of mine too, so I was like, of course I'm gonna help. I was like, okay, you're good, don't worry. And then I watched him get his shoulder relocated. So that's a fun fact about me. Anyway, we get the day one check-ins. We start at the Ikawang tribe because they won the challenge, and Zach is a super fan, but we knew that. And Swati is in the Army National Guard?
Did not know that.
Swati is just an enigma. And I'm loving her. So she's in the Army National Guard. She was the first of the like true, I'm going to say Australian Survivor inspired intro packages.
Mm.
that we got. I don't know if it's just because they've been doing it for a while and I've watched it, so I like.
Mm-hmm. It's
But it
fun.
felt
It's
very.
fine.
I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
We find out that her parents immigrated from India. She got into every college she applied to. She goes to Harvard. She's in the Army National Guard. She's in a career field that is not very female dominated. Like she is. I'm
She's
loving
Superwoman.
her. Truly.
Swati is Superwoman. Swati is everything. Swati, I said I was going to keep a very open mind about
Uh-huh.
everybody this season because I wanted to, experience and not just
Mm-hmm.
but even pre-season, I enjoyed Swati. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I am loving her now, finding out more
Yeah.
about her. Like, I didn't even know she was in the National Guard until
I didn't either. No,
I
I
was
don't think
like,
that was. I don't think she mentioned it in her intro package, which
it wasn't not in her. No, I don't think so.
I
But
understand. I understand, and yet it would have been it made it surprising info
yeah,
as like people who did our research prior to the season, because obviously we do this.
right.
We also see Tori talking about a little bit of her strategy going into the game. So she tells she tells people in her tribe that she is a caregiver, but she is not. She is a therapist. And so she says, this is something I wrote down basically what she said. I think this might be verbatim, but don't quote me. She says that she wants to show her tribe mates what she wants them to think about her, which is a strategy that I don't think necessarily has been verbalized. There are some people who have done that in the past and just not really verbalized it, more so like, oh, I'm going to say I'm a kindergarten teacher, but actually I'm a
Right.
Navy SEAL. There are times where people have done that. I don't think people are going to suspect that she's a therapist, but I
I
also
don't think
don't
people are
think
going to care that she's
no.
a therapist. Like, I could understand you trying to hide your occupation
Your
if
knowledge
you
of
are
psychology at
right.
the bare minimum.
If
Yes.
you're a Navy SEAL, or if
Mhm.
you're a police officer, or if you're a neuroscientist, or if
Right.
you're something of I'm a former attorney general, something crazy huge
I'm a game theory professor. I don't know,
professor
like
or
some
something
whatever.
major, like, yeah, great. Hide what you are. You don't want people to know that. You don't need nobody to know that you're a thermonuclear scientist or whatever. You don't want nobody to know all that. Got it.
Sure.
But you're a freaking therapist. Not that a therapist is something to sneeze at, but
And we appreciate
we
therapists.
appreciate therapists for all they do because, baby, you listen to a lot and you take on a lot.
Uh-huh.
So I understand, but I don't know why she felt like people would be threatened by her being a therapist. I guess because you can read people or you listen to people, so you observe people. I don't know, but whatever,
I mean,
child.
the primary basis of a degree to become a therapist is in psychology. So I do understand that from a perspective because we've seen people who are like in the psychology field, or at least I have. I might be thinking of Australian Survivor again.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people be targeted for being. I am actually thinking of Australian Survivor because there was a contestant a few seasons ago who was a pain researcher.
Mm-hmm.
So her work was in the psychology of pain and was targeted because of that, because the knowledge was out there. So we'll talk more about Tori. We've got a lot of talking about Tori to do. But we also see at the Ikawan tribe an alliance formed very immediately between Romeo, Drea, and Rox.
Mm-hmm.
I guess he's going by Rox, so we'll say Rox.
That's fine. Look, I think that's a weird name anyway. Roxroy is. It's just.
I don't mind because he's nice to look at. We'll talk more about him infuriating me later, but he's nice to look at, so I'm not mad. And then we go to Vati and Taku, respectively, and we see the return of the Savvy or Sweat dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
I don't love this,
Mm-hmm.
but I love that we actually got to see people tackle the triangle puzzle this season because no one did it the other season. And I think the big difference that I noted was on 41, they were allowed 2 people to do the sweat task. This time, only one person gets to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's why nobody was like, yeah, no, thank you.
Well, there was one person who thought about wanting to do it, and
of
that
course,
was Jonathan.
Jonathan. Of course, Jonathan wants to do it. But they were like, then they were like, bruh, we could do this faster than you could do that.
Exactly.
By yourself.
And it was a really interesting way to see both of these done because on 41, the way that they did the sweat task was obviously like, there's one way to do it. You pick it up, you get the water, and you bring it back. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. With this one, it was interesting because we saw 2 very different strategies to tackle this task from the 2 different tribes. So if you look at Vati, they all decide they're going to work together on this task, maybe to their detriment. I mean, it ended up working out for both tribes. So who cares?
Well, this is what I'll say about Vati's tribe. They were all very like, we're going to do it together. Let's work together and do this puzzle. And my girl, Jenny.
Oh, Jenny Kim, icon, legend, and
say, yes, love. She iconic. Love Jenny. Look, the pantsuit didn't steer me the wrong. I told you I like this woman in the thing because her pantsuit said power. She just gave me strength, and she
the dry humor. That's what sold me.
Jenny was like, I don't know what. Like, she didn't say this verbatim.
I'm not on a team of puzzle masters.
Look, she didn't say this verbatim, but this is what she said to me. Jenny was like, now how long am I going to sit here and let these people just go round and round acting like they know what they're doing when they really don't? You know what? Time's up. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Let me just cut. And she just broke that thing. Like triangle here, triangle here, triangle here,
triangle.
I was in love with Jenny and how she just broke that thing down and was like, this is how it is. And everybody else had to shut up and fall in line because Jenny had this and they knew it, that they couldn't do it without her. Like Daniel was over there like, I mean, I know what I'm doing. And Jenny was like, no.
I mean, for me, it was a little bit worse over at Taku because so they start and Jonathan and Jackson both say that their like guess is 11. And then Omar just looks over at them and he's like, I've already counted 32.
32?
Or 36 or whatever it was. I was like, Omar, yes. So they decide that it is more advantageous for them to split up the tasks. So we see Lindsay, Marianne, and Omar working on the puzzle while Mariah, Jackson, and Jonathan go work on the shelter. Which I think was incredibly advantageous because obviously, and I think it was it was Jonathan that said it in Confessional, where he's like, I wanted to be able to provide for my tribe. And the way that I'm going to provide for my tribe is building this shelter. This is not my task. I'm not a puzzle builder. I'm not a puzzle solver. This is not for me. So I'm going to provide for my tribe in a different way. The end result is that Vati, you have to guess, you can guess twice, but you have to guess both at the same time, which I also thought was interesting. That was a choice. But Vati guesses 50 and 51. Taku guesses 51 and 52. And Lord, honestly, I was hoping it would be 51 just for both of their sakes. And it was.
It was.
And everybody has a pot, a flint, and a machete.
Yay!
Woo!
Woohoo!
We move along. So we go back to Vati for a second, and we get Mike's intro package. I forget who it was, but they were like, "You're this ripped at 57?" I forgot he was 57. I was like, "He's 57?"
Oh, I didn't forget. I didn't forget. I said in the assessment, I was like, this
Yep.
man is very much in shape for a 57-year-old man. And like, he looks amazing, but he's a
Yeah,
firefighter, a retired firefighter.
exactly.
And even in his thing, his bio, he was like, working out is a hobby for him, which
Yeah.
I'm sure he's so used to because the discipline to be a
Mhm.
firefighter and all that stuff. And we all know how look. We all know the myth, the legend, the somewhat truths about firefighters. So, yeah, I'm not surprised this man is 57 and looking this good, but he looks amazing. And you know what I
Truly.
do like?
Hmm.
I like the fact that we're sitting here talking about this man being 57 and
A
he
man
looks
being
amazing. We're looking at him and objectifying him to just what he looks like because usually that's just the women. Oh, look at her. She's 40 and she still looks good. Like she's not supposed to
that
look good.
part.
Like she's not supposed to look good. Or we
That
just
part.
only blank looking at a woman for her look. Like she's not,
Yep.
she doesn't look that great. Baby. No, let's objectify the man. He looks good. All the men, just base them on their
Oh,
looks. How about that? How
if
about we
there's
just
one
base them on the look?
thing, if there's one thing here at the Cup we are going to be doing consistently, it is objectifying men.
Oh,
Because men should be objectified as much as women should be objectified as much as non-binary and genderless people. So objectify everyone equally.
everyone gets objectified very much equally here because
Absolutely.
if you look good, I'm going to say it,
Absolutely.
and if you don't look good,
Um,
I probably won't say that.
and speaking of looking good, we go back to the Ika Wong tribe and I get to look at rocks, which I'm happy about. But he pissed me the fuck off because he is dictating to people. I'm not even going to say like ordering, it's dictating.
Rocks,
Because yeah, go ahead,
rocks,
Lana.
rocks is a stay-at-home dad.
Yep.
And he's used to telling children what to do all day. And his children are young children, so he's used to doing everything and telling them what to do, where to go, how to do it, because that's what parents do to toddlers and babies. You have to teach them everything, and so they know how to do it, and you're constantly telling them what to do.
Yep.
And Rox does not know how to turn that off when he's talking to adults because he's used to talking to children. Yep. So, yeah, I understand why everybody was looking at him like, bruh. And like Drea even had to tell him, like, you
and
need to chill.
Because so Rox even they have a moment together like while building the shelter, and he's like, if I'm coming off as too much, just let me know. And in any other situation, I feel like most people would be like, oh no, you're good. I love that Drea was like, you could tone it down just a bit. I love that from Drea. Oh God, I love Drea. There's so many people on this season that I want to root for. It's just
I love the fact that Drea did that too, because and I felt like that was the thing for them her to like trust building, and like, I want to work with you, but bruh, you need to chill out. You really need to relax a little bit because that is not going to fly in this game, and with this small of a tribe, it could easily be you. So
and it almost was.
It almost was.
We'll talk about it. What annoyed me a little bit, and I don't want to harp on this because I don't think it was meant in like a super negative way, but he complains to Romeo at the start of this segment about how his work ethic is different, or his work ethic is stronger than everybody else. And I don't particularly love that because it feels like a comment that I hear a lot as someone who is of a younger generation. And I don't want to harp on that because I don't think it was
Oh no,
solely negative.
it was 100% that.
Yeah, and I understand that like he is of a certain age, and there are a lot of people in my generation who don't have the same sort of work ethic.
Very
But
true.
there are also a lot of people in my generation, I would say myself included, that do have a very strong work ethic. And so to look at these three people who are also of very different ages, like Swati they're in the same generation, but like Swati and Zach are both college age, and Tori is my age. And so it's like looking at that, it rubs me just a little bit of the wrong way, but I don't want to like harp on it because I understand, but also like,
I mean, I get it, and I understand where you were probably like. I hear that, and I'm like, yeah, he was definitely like these kids these days.
These kids, it felt very that.
It is very that, and it felt that way to me as well. And I get it because sometimes, I mean, in all honesty, people of certain ages and different generations do have different ways of tackling things. Not saying your work ethic is not as strong. It's just not the same.
It's a different way of working.
It's right. It's a different way of working. My generation, like, I feel like sometimes people in your generation might be a little too sensitive about everything. Sure. Everything is a problem. Everything is a situation. We have to talk about this. We have to do this. We need to discuss everything. Now, for me, growing up, we didn't have to do that. For me, it's like, if there's a problem, either we solve it or either we figure it out by ourselves or I find out how to fix it. I don't have to go and make a plan and discuss things. If I get offended, I'm offended for me, and I'm going to be like, okay, let me handle this and deal with my.
But I don't need to need to consistently verbalize that situation.
Exactly. And I feel like this generation consistently feels the need to verbalize everything. It's not a bad thing. It helps you get through. And if it's just a different way of seeing things and viewing things. And just because it's not my way doesn't make it the wrong way. It's just a different way. And I feel like that's what a lot of people in my age group, in our generation and older, need to realize. Just because we don't agree with it doesn't make it wrong. It might not, it just works for them. It doesn't work for me. Because like, I don't need to talk to everybody about all of my problems and all of my, even though I feel like sometimes people are like, you need to let it go and you'll feel better. No, because sometimes for me, letting it go just means now I'm burdening everybody with my problems. I don't.
Oh, and I relate to that on such a serious level. Like, I feel that way very, very much so constantly in every aspect of my life. So I definitely understand that. But again, it just comes. That's why I love games like Survivor, because it brings so many different people from different walks of life and who have different perspectives and all that.
All of that. Yes.
Welcome to a conversation on the generational gap, brought to you by The Cup. Anyway, let's skip through some of these because there's two big things we want to talk about. Three actually. So we get night one at Taku, and this is where Jackson tells his tribe about his transition. About how I had to remind my roommate about this as well, because I guess he missed it in the episode, but Jackson only applied once for Survivor, and it was 10 years ago. And now obviously he has transitioned, and so things are a little bit different. A little bit. Mostly because he had to take care of his mother, and his mother subsequently passed away, but it brought him a relationship with his dad. So we love this was a lovely, touching moment. Before we'll talk more about Jackson later, and I'm still sad.
No, I mean, we just go right into it because I feel like this is Jackson's moment. I want to give Jackson all the time.
Sure, you know what? Yeah, we can skip ahead for a second, because then we skip ahead to day 3, and Jeff comes to camp, which doesn't happen.
It never happens, and
especially not on day 3.
And literally, that's when everybody was like, "What's wrong?"
So he pulls Jackson and they have a conversation. And initially when I heard about this whole situation, I was angry And I still am a little bit angry, but knowing the information I know now, it makes things a little bit easier. I'm just going to point blank say it. So Jackson does get eliminated. I don't know why there's two colons, but Jackson does get pulled from the game, and he talks about his use of lithium as a drug. And he's been using it since, I believe he said 2016, when he was taking care of his mom and wasn't sleeping. And I know nothing about lithium use. I don't know if you know anything a little bit more. No. Okay, cool. But apparently it is a common thing used for insomnia and for people that don't sleep. I've done a little bit of research on it. But it was widely used like 20, 30 years ago and not really used as much now, which is why people don't really know a whole lot about it. The point being, the use of lithium, from what I gather, causes severe dehydration, and the symptoms are even worse when you're dehydrated and when you're not eating and when you're stressed. Survival.
Everything survival, right?
And apparently Jackson didn't let the producers know until a day before shooting started. And now I saw a lot of people online being like, so why didn't they bring in an alternate? And at first I said the same thing. I was like, why didn't we have an alternate? Why was Jackson let to be on the show? This, that, and the third. What I found out subsequently, and if this is wrong, someone please let me know. I believe I have all of the information right, but I'm probably still wrong. From what I understand, they let the alternates go a day before filming starts, or 1 or 2 days before filming starts. Oh. So they had already like double, triple, quadruple checked everybody. All 18 people were locked in, which included Jackson, and they had already sent the alternates home. Mostly they had left the COVID bubble that is Survivor production. So that is the reason why Jackson was allowed to be on, because they didn't have anyone at the time who could fill it, because the alternates had already left the pool. So knowing that and knowing everything, I'm still sad and I'm upset, but I understand a little bit, and I'm not that I need to be at peace with it. It's upsetting, but Jackson also kind of did it to himself.
True.
So
yeah. I feel the same way. I feel like, and I didn't know about the alternate situation, but now knowing that is what the case is, and I can see what, that happening, because like, why would you keep alternates just once the game has started? Because the game is now starting. There's no need for an alternate at this point.
Because I believe he told them like around the times he did his intro interviews, which are the day before day one of the game. So day zero, if you will. And by day zero, they let everybody go.
So I understand that, and I get it. It sucks. And yeah, Jackson did do this to himself, because if he would have told, like, if I was an alternate, I'd be pissed right now.
If I'm an alternate sitting out there like,
you mean to tell me I was sitting right there and you couldn't be on it? But I understand Jackson also just really wanted to play this game, and 10 years to be waiting after putting in the application, and 10 years to finally get in the chance to come in and play. Yeah, you don't want anything to screw that up. So I understand. I'm sad about it. I hope we get Jackson a chance to come back after they wean him off. If he weans himself, I doubt it, because I feel like they don't trust him anymore because of this debacle. But it would be nice, but I'm not holding my breath for it.
Me either. I saw a lot of people online, and I don't think this way, but I saw a lot of people being like, well, was he used as like this tokenism because he is the first openly trans man on the show? And I don't see it that way at all, because again, like we said, he did it to himself.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it was. I really think they wanted to tell this story, and they wanted to have a openly trans person on the show. Please. And they tried to do. They cast him. They were going to let it, but the fact of the matter is, rules are still rules, and your health is number one, and safety is important to them because they know if something happens and they can get sued for, for not being, um for not taking care of what they're supposed to take care of. So the fact of the matter is, as much as we loved to see this story being told on Survivor, the person who was telling the story wasn't honest with the producers. And so the fact of the matter is they had to do what they had to do. It sucks. But I feel like this won't be the last openly trans person we'll see on Survivor. If
Please.
they opened the door already, now it just takes more people applying and getting on that show. And I think since we've already had one, they can have more. So hopefully this won't be the last and they can tell more stories. And I think Survivor is trying to tell as many stories as possible because they saw how well being a diverse cast, what it does for the show.
Yeah.
And so I think I honestly feel like there'll be more stories to tell. It was sad, but I just, like we said, he did it to himself. And I know he's probably kicking himself over that,
Yeah.
but what
Yeah,
can you do?
I really hope that we start to see, because I still don't even think, looking at diversity from a different perspective, I don't think we've seen any Native American people on Survivor US. I don't think we've seen any Indigenous representation, which I would love to see that. Obviously, for me being a queer person, I would love to see trans women. I would love to see non-binary people. I would love to see more trans men, more queer people. This season, I think, is really great because there's 5 out of 18 queer people. Like, that's a win in my book, honestly. Almost a third, like almost an entire tribe of queer people, which I love. But yeah, you said it all. I hope this starts that conversation more at CBS, because again, CBS has not always been the best with that, but I hope for the best. So we are very sad, but Marianne's reaction was all of our reaction, honestly.
Marianne's reaction was a lot. I was sad, but I wasn't going to
I was
wait.
like, on one hand, I understand because I can tell that she's an empath.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that about her, but I can tell, and I see it. And so, being in that sort of situation, even for 72 hours, I can understand that sort of like emotion. Was it a little much? Perhaps, but I don't think it was necessarily a bad thing.
No.
But yeah. Goodbye, Jackson. We appreciate you. But yeah, so jumping back just ever so slightly, 2 check-ins to do it, Vati and then it Ika Wong. Over at Vati, we have 3 duos forming, Lana. We've got the duo of Lydia and Hai. We have the duo of Jenny and Mike. And we have the forced together duo of Chanel and Daniel.
I don't mind it. Sure. Do what you gotta do.
I love that there's 3 queer people on this tribe, and I just realized that.
I just feel like Chanel was like, I see these 2 going off. I see these 2 going off. I need a partner too.
I guess I'm grabbing Daniel. And Daniel does share his story. I was hoping he would, and I was hoping he would. He talks about having childhood leukemia and how he used Survivor as a coping mechanism. I love Daniel. He's great so far. He got a dislocated shoulder. He's sharing his story of leukemia. Like, I like him so far. I think he's perfectly lovely.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then over at the Ika Wong tribe, we see Romeo and Zach making a good connection. And this is where Tori goes off to find some taro root. Oh boy. And Zach mentions that Tori is potentially looking for an idol. And now in confessional, we see Tori talking about, oh yeah, no, I went off to try to find like food for my tribe because I saw these taro leaves and maybe there's a taro root. But like I was also looking for an idol. But like mostly I was just looking for, food for my tribe, of course. Like I'm thinking about the tribe. Girl, don't try to gaslight us.
Right. I'm like, we see
We
you.
see you.
We see you.
Come
We
on,
see you.
come on, NSYNC.
Uh,
The band and us being in sync. Um, and
uh,
then, oh God.
but I don't want to skip over Tori and her trying to
Yeah.
trying to tell us what we know we see, but trying to tell us we ain't see it.
You talk about Tori for a second, Lana. You
Yeah,
do that.
because see, like you can't tell us one thing and then try to tell us something else in the same breath. You went out looking for tarot root, true, but you also went and looking for an idol, true. But then when somebody says you went looking for an idol, no, I didn't. Girl, come on now. I mean, I get you not wanting to, but like, then what also bothers me is that Drea wasn't the person that say something about Tori going to look for the idol. Zach says she's probably looking for the idol, and Drea's like, oh, she's definitely looking for an idol. Like Zach says it first. Drea agrees. Romeo is not the no. Who it was somebody else there. But
Was it Swati, I think?
might have Swati. It was Swati. It was sitting there. So Zach said this is the order. Zach says it first. Drea agrees. Swati said, probably. Now, when Tori comes back from her tarot root look forage, Zach pulls Tori away and is like, Drea was already talking about you going looking for an idol.
Hello?
What? Hello?
Hello?
What?
No.
What? Huh?
I would not make this stupid of a move. I'll tell you that much. I would not.
Oh my God. I'm going to say it. And I don't usually always say it first, but I'm going to say it. The privilege of these people. The audacity of these people to rewrite his. Y'all know what?
Redacted book and the audacity of this bitch.
Like,
truly.
Like, how? Y'all love rewriting history, don't we? We love rewriting.
It's the best. It's the best time, Lana.
Just rewrite the whole facts, and so Zach tells Tori, Drea said you was going looking for an idol, so your name is out there. She put your name out there. And Tori, of course, freaks out because who wouldn't when you hear your name might be out there on day 3 or crazy. So yeah, Zach already getting on my nerves at this point because Zach is doing the most too much right now for me. And Tori is trying to gaslight what we watching happen, what she says happened, but then say, no, I didn't say that happened. Okay, but
we love Drea and we love Swati and we're loving Romeo.
Period. So
we then we're going on a journey, Lana.
We're going on a journey because a boat just comes out of nowhere. There's a boat.
I feel like this Taku tribe was like, there are so many boats happening. All of the boats are coming to our tribe. What is happening? Is this a season of boats? I'm confused.
It's very much like boats. They are not playing at this Survivor. Like everything is happening at once. It is literally. Like every day, literally something new is going on. So the boat shows up.
Yep.
And the man gives them the letter and says, one of y'all got to get on this boat. That's it.
Very that. So Marianne ends up going for Taku and she's like, I want to go, but also I know that can sometimes paint a target on people. And she literally goes, well, if I have to be the victim of this, then so be it. And I'm like, I love the way Marianne played that off.
I love that too.
Wanting to go, but
whatever. Not wanting to go. Wanting to go, but not making it look like she wanted to go. Mm-hmm.
So Vati draws straws and good old Miss Jenny Kim gets the gets the short
straw.
straw, the long straw, whichever one they did.
Short straw.
The short straw. So Jenny's going, and then all we see at Ica, or the Ica Wong tribe, so sorry, is a rock, paper, scissors between Drea and Rox. I'm curious if everybody else was a part of it.
I wonder if they just was like, I don't want to go, or they were like, we'll
like
all
the people who did want to go, like did a thing. I don't know. But Drea ends up getting it, and we see in confessional, Drea's like, I want as many advantages as I possibly can. It is a 26-day game. I want to be set up for this.
As she should. Who wouldn't?
So they go on a journey. We saw this countless times in 41, but this one we see Mary Ann's intro, which, God, I love this woman. Her parents came from Kenya. She's always struggled with self-esteem issues, but she is on the show to truly show people that, like, you can be weird, you can be different, and, like,
be on Survivor.
As someone who was weird and different growing up and still is, I appreciate you, Marianne, and I am happy you were there to represent those of us that are weird and different. So,
can I just say, before we move on, why I love Marianne in this moment?
Please.
Marianne hopped on that boat with no shoes on.
She walked that whole
journey with no shoes on. Never complained. That we heard.
That we saw.
Like, she could have been complaining the whole time, but we didn't see it.
Yeah.
But was like walking that walk, up that trek, up that summit with no shoes on and a smile on her face. And they told them to get to know each other, but I don't know. We didn't hear a lot of conversation between the three of them because we just saw them walking. So we don't really know if they had a lot of conversation. But they get to the top of the hill, and then they were like, and now we separate. So we came all the way up here to go back down.
I do love that it was 3 women of color.
Me too.
Like, there's like a very slim chance that happens. It would have been, for me, it would have been a little bit better had it been Chanel instead of Jenny. But I do love that, because it would have been great to see 3 Black women going on this together. But the fact that we had 3 women of color doing this, regardless, love, period. And it is the prisoner's dilemma. We know this twist. We saw this twist. Whatever. We see Drea risking her vote, as we knew she would.
Drea wasn't playing. She didn't even think about it. She was like, oh, I'm risking this.
Marianne risks her vote. Now, this is the shocker for me. She brings up how people in the past have their regret has been not like going and taking the risks.
She literally says, and this is what I was like, okay, Marianne, I see you. You're playing. She's like,
Zach, you're Marianne.
She was like, being a Christian woman, and she said a lot of Christians come on this game, and they have the dilemma of how to play this game and still hold on to their Christianity and beliefs and all of that. But in this game, you have to take risks. And you have to do some things that you might not do in your normal life. That's the beauty of Christianity. That's the beauty of forgiveness. God offers you forgiveness. Baby, I can lie to you today, ask for forgiveness in an hour, and I will be okay. So I love that Marianne was like, you have to take these risks in these games. You can't play safe and expect to go far. Safety is not going to always be there for you. So you have to do what you got to do. And I was very much like, yes, Marianne, love that for you. Love that you are acknowledging the fact that, yes, I am still a Christian woman. Yes, I am going to be a pastor. Yes, I'm going to do all these things. But in this moment, I am Marianne, the Survivor player. And I'm going to play Survivor. Love it.
And at this point, I'm like, Jenny, save your vote.
Save your vote.
And
save
then
yourself.
She died.
She did.
I think a lot of it has to do with her feeling very comfortable. She has her duo with Mike. She's feeling very comfortable in her tribe. She's providing for her tribe. She helped the tribe win the basicness of the puzzle thing. So I think she feels very safe. I'm not surprised in any. I would have been more surprised had she risked her vote, honestly.
Me too.
Just from the little bit that we know of Jenny, I would have been surprised in that regard.
Jenny seems like that person that's going to be safe or try to stay safe for as long as possible. Not that she's not going to play, but she's going to try to make sure she makes no waves.
And that's not a bad strategy whatsoever. No. In a game as short as this,
yes,
staying as central and as neutral as you can for the longest amount of time is going to do you wonders. Mm-hmm. Case in point, Erica Kaspianen. Mm-hmm. So, which I don't know if you saw as well. She is actually doing. Erica is doing the exit interviews for ET Canada for Survivor 42.
That. But yeah, good for her.
I watched her. Yeah, she's doing that, and then Tashawn from BB Can was doing some coverage on ET Canada the other day, and I was like,
"Well, good for you." Yeah, I think I saw him.
People. Yeah, I was like, "Work, Erica. Erica's the correct choice to do it." So I'm on board. I don't think she's done one with Jackson yet, but I hope that happens. But I love Erica, so I'm very excited to see more of Erica. It's a good interview. Go check it out if you can. It's a great time. But yes, so because Drea and Marianne risked their votes, they now both receive an extra vote. Period.
Marianne doesn't know this yet, but she'll find out when she gets to tribal. Her first tribal.
She doesn't know she has it yet. Drea does. We'll talk about why that is because we're at the immunity challenge.
Yay.
So you have to you start on a platform in the water, you swim to your boat, you paddle to shore collecting chests on your way, which you then have to drag your boat and the chests along this massive track under a net. And then we end with a massive vertical dragon puzzle, which we have seen in past seasons. So this is a reused puzzle. And I don't dislike that. I'm on board. And we see Lydia and Romeo sitting out for their respective tribes. Obviously, the losers.
That's the first time they see that Jackson is gone. Everybody was a little shocked to see that, but yeah.
And I don't know if they explained what happened, but
not on this.
We didn't see it in the edit. So what we did see in the edit is this lovely ADR line from Jeff Probst talking about the shot in the dark. I was like, okay, Jeff in the ADR, what happened? Was there a sound issue? Is this just the exact clip pulled from Survivor 41 and pasted? Who knows? But yes, this is where we find out about shot in the dark. The challenge, as Jeff describes later, is the most physically taxing challenge they've ever had. I would care to disagree, but I also can't bring up examples of more physically taxing challenges on Survivor US.
I agree and disagree. I feel like this was definitely a very physically taxing challenge. They were exhausted, and I can see, I would have died trying to do that challenge. I would have keeled over and just threw up everything and then collapsed and passed out. But because you had, like you said, jump off the thing, get in the boat, roll the boat, get all these heavy chests into the boat, keep rowing it to the end, pull it up out the water on the sand on this track with these chests either in it or you take the chest out, then you pull the boat up, then you put the chest back in it, then you got to drag it through this. That was a lot. And we saw even the biggest of men was worn out.
Yeah. It kind of surprised me that Rox gassed out as much as he did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's in a decent physical shape. I don't think he's out of shape at all. And I don't know. I loved also, and we'll talk more about it later, but I loved seeing Drea taking a lot of the, commanding of the, getting this done for the Aikawang tribe. But we do see Taku is out to an early lead. Vati is in it. Aikawang tribe is struggling hardcore. So Taku gets to the pulling of the boat first, but they get stuck. And so the Vati tribe is able to pull ahead. They make it to the puzzle first, then Taku shortly after. And the Aikawang tribe finally gets there after both tribes have finished a section and a half. For the puzzle, we have Daniel and Jenny for Vati, Marianne and Omar for Taku, and then Zach and Swati for Aika. And Marianne and Omar truly just beasted this puzzle.
Literally, I love their strategy. Like they opened up the chest, they set the pieces up before they got it. They set it up and they made sure they knew exactly what, and then Marianne would pass it to Omar. Omar would put it in, and they just worked like a
so
well-oiled machine. It was truly so good. Jenny and Daniel, they worked well together as well, but it was like it was something that happened when Taki got there with him that they just slowed down a little bit. But Taki just was that fast. But they were like a well-oiled machine. It was like they saw that puzzle before and they knew exactly where every piece went. Because
I mean, Marianne and Omar being super fans, I wouldn't be surprised if they had seen the puzzle before. Daniel as well. Like I wouldn't be surprised.
But see, and I really think like we said, this is a reused kind of puzzle, but I don't think it was in this shape or this exact same way. I don't think the puzzle was the same. I think it was a block puzzle.
The patterns were probably different, but I don't remember exact. Again, not encyclopedic knowledge of Survivor, but I feel like this 3-segment puzzle has been done before. I don't know if it was this exact I
don't think it was the same dragon pattern, right? It might have been that same
part puzzle. I know has been done before, so
probably definitely.
I want to point out something you said that I think is really true. Marianne and Omar worked very well together. I think Daniel and Jenny worked very well together as well, but they worked together by working separately. Like they both took parts of the bottom.
That's true.
One side of the second portion and then worked together very well on the top.
That's true.
Zach and Swati were trying to do that, and they got to the first part very quickly to the point where I was like, are they going to make a comeback? But Zach, unfortunately, really fumbled the whole thing. When
he started putting that side.
Because it was 2 different colors.
Is
the thing. The background was 2 different colors, which really distinguished everything. But we do see that Taku and Vati win the immunity challenge. They get the new immunity idol, which is a snake eating its own tail. Questionable. And then the base. That's it. It's not my favorite tribal immunity.
No, it's definitely the worst one for me. I don't like it at all. There
has to be one that I dislike more, but I
really don't. I'll go back and watch. If I have to, I will have to go back and watch every season to see. But as of right now, I don't like this one at all. I'm like, please hurry up and get rid of this and get to the one. I hope they change it when they get to the one immunity, when it's just 2 tribes and it's just one person.
Well, I don't think they do that they didn't do that on 41. They went from 3 tribes straight to merge, if I remember correctly. So I don't think we're getting a swap unless they decided to implement that as part of the differences between 41 and 42.
I mean, that's fun too. Well, if we'll get rid of that and just go back to the immunity necklace so we can be.
Well, I mean,
that snake just bothers me.
We'll only have like 3 or 4 episodes, I think, of the snake, so I'm not super worried.
Okay.
Because I think episode 5 or 6 was merge last season. Because I believe they do it at 12. Because there were 9 jurors and 3 finalists. So 4 more episodes, maybe episode 6, we'll see the merge. Who knows? It's a 26-day season. Anything can happen. But the Aikawang tribe are going to tribal. We get back to the Aikawang beach, and Zach is very remorseful about, in his words, losing the challenge for the tribe, which I do think he was, but I believe it was Rox that was like, no, this is a group loss. Like, we all contributed to the loss.
Right.
And then Tori, before everybody goes off, Tori is like, I just want to clear the air because, we're all very logical, understanding people here. I just want everybody to know there's been a lot of talk about this idol. idol searching, idol hunting, the concept of looking for idols. And I just would like everybody to know I don't have an idol, but like I don't want this to be a part of the discussion. I don't want this to be, factored into the voting. How was my Tory impression? Was it good?
It was good. I enjoyed
Thank you.
I enjoyed it.
And then this I actually appreciated. She fully goes, Drea, I want to pull you aside because I heard that in front of everyone, she says this, by the way. She's like, I want to pull you aside because I heard it came from you. And Drea is kind of caught off guard because obviously it didn't come from her.
Right.
But then she also doesn't tell Tori that Zach came up with it, but Tori knows that it was Zach because Zach was the one to give Tori the information.
Exactly.
And then they like squash whatever wasn't there because there wasn't anything there. But they
was not
come to a resolution where Drea's like, okay, I need to calm this girl down for no apparent reason at all. And then Drea throws out the concept of taking out Roxroy. And I said, absolutely yes. I am on board for this. As much as I like looking at him, he annoys me from a game perspective. And like, Drea's like, we don't need his strength. And honestly, I believe that because I think Drea is enough strength to get the tribe through these challenges. Obviously, there's a gender difference, and Jonathan may have a little bit more strength than Drea does, and I can't think of any of the big muscly guys over at Vati at the current moment. I'm there. Mike, she doesn't have the same sort of strength as Mike, but she has a different sort of strength, and I think, or a different sort of physical strength. Let me clarify. And I think that in this situation, I believe Drea. I don't necessarily think they need Roxroy because he fully gassed at the challenge.
Yeah.
She did most of the work. So, sure. Do this plan. Now, the problem is Drea goes to Romeo.
Romeo said, absolutely not.
What about this alliance that we all just formed a day and a half ago?
Absolutely not. Romeo was like, are you insane? We just formed the alliance a couple of days ago. Why are we turning on it at our very first time at Tribal?
Yeah.
Which I was like, yes, Romeo, please calm people down. Because
fair. It's like fair. That makes sense. So he throws out Tori's name. Now we go to another conversation. And again, I don't want to harp on Roxroy being, the type A personality that he seems to be. But he makes a comment to Swati that I think he was trying to be funny. And I'm not really sure because he tells Swati that she needs to go wash, and I quote, those things she calls shoes.
Yep. Yeah.
Confusion.
This is a
massive amounts of confusion.
This is a man who doesn't deal with adults. Obviously.
No.
Obviously. This is a man who is used to being in charge. This is a man who says what he wants and nobody checks him on it because, and not, okay, yeah, to bring race into this again.
Sure.
I've seen his wife. We saw his wife, the picture of his wife.
We sure did see his wife.
She's a boss because she's working and taking, bringing in the money for the household. Period. But also, she obviously is not the one to check this man when he says things.
No.
Because
no.
I feel like she's the boss at her job. Or where she works, wherever she does, she's the one who's bringing home the money that makes her a boss chick, like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But at the house, Roxroy runs the house. And
Sure.
she happily lets him do it,
Sure.
which is fine, and which
Of
is
course.
a lot how most households work, and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
households work, and it
Yeah.
works well for people, which is great. But I'm just saying, he does not have a sister at home keeping that in check. And that is what I'm saying. It's nothing bad against his
Sure.
wife. She's a lovely
Of
woman,
course
I'm
not.
sure.
Of
And
course, yeah.
everything is great.
Mhm.
He just needs somebody at the house to check him, and he don't, it seems, because the way he's talking to these people is kind of like very hmm,
And
I wouldn't.
I don't want to go here either, but the way he's talking to the women, it seems
Hmm.
like from the edit,
Yeah. Hmm.
it's the edit. I'm not saying anything definitively, but what I'm saying is the edit, the
It's
edit.
it's definitely yeah. I just like I don't want to say that about him, but it looks like
It's
that's what I have
one
to.
episode. I'm
Mm-hmm.
keeping my I'm keeping my opinions open.
Yes, he could change in an instant.
He he hasn't done anything in one episode that is just so definitively, oh my god, I can't come back from this. These
Exactly.
comments, I genuinely feel like he was trying to be funny in this instance. I
Yeah.
even think he laughs. And like
And
Swati obviously
Swati
does as
laughed
well
too.
because
Right.
she's trying to like I don't think she's trying to rock the boat.
Rock, rock.
Anyway, they
Mhm.
talk about Rox is very much so like Swati, who do you want? Because, the obvious targets coming out of that challenge will be Zach and Swati because they did the puzzle, which I
Mhm.
always hate that they are like, I hate that the puzzle builders are the people that get targeted in this situation. But again, I understand it.
Mhm.
And Swati feeds into that. She's like, I know I have a target. My target's grown a little bit. So I'm going to throw it on Zach because he kind of gives up at the challenge. Now, this is also where we see uh, Zach or Romeo talking with Rox and Swati, and he's like, I want to vote Tori. And they're like, absolutely not. We want to vote Zach. And
Well,
Romeo's like, well, why can't we vote Tori? Romeo, seeing through the Tory of it all.
mhm.
And I appreciate it. But we go to tribal. Not a whole lot happens, and yet something happens, and yet nothing happens. Um, the comic relief of the evening is Swati saying she would cut off her pinky finger
Pinky
to
finger.
not be at this tribal.
And Jeff was
Love.
like, "How many times are you going to do that?" And she was like,
She's like,
"Maybe."
maybe to like day 8 or 9. We're
There's a
like,
two
honestly,
travels.
sure. And then we get the big thing of the episode where we see Tori talking about how she's a strong player and saying that she's trustworthy and loyal. But Zach disagrees. Zach kind of calls her on her shit, even though like neither one of them look great in this scenario.
Yeah, yeah.
Because obviously Zach is trying to make a mountain out of a molehill here, and is like,
Hmm.
well, she went off trying to look for taro root, but maybe it was for an idol instead. And I'm like, Zach, honey, no. Like,
But she was the one telling her that that's what someone said.
and
Like,
I love because obviously Tori kind of turns at this point away from Zach, and I
hmm.
love Jeff being like, well, clearly her body language has changed and she's closed off, and I'm like, this is the Jeff I love. This is the Jeff that I appreciate and love so much. And like obviously they're not working together because one of them is about to get voted out. I did appreciate that Tori fully like owned her mistake
Hmm.
in front of everyone because we saw it in confessional. She was like, I made a stupid mistake. And then at tribal, she's basically like, yeah, I made a dumb mistake. I was like, whether this was gaslighting or whatever, like she realizes the perception that this has caused and acknowledged it, which again, don't love Tori as a player, but I can respect that she at least acknowledges this.
Hmm.
So this, that, and the third, we go to the vote and Zach walks up first and he's like, first vote of Survivor 42. Too bad I won't be voting. Shot in the dark. And I'm like, it took that dumb bitch like 7 episodes last season.
Right. I'm about to say we didn't think it was going to happen.
I mean, this is probably what producers wanted to happen with the shot in the dark. So I at least appreciate that, like, it's here. It's kind of a non-factor twist to me in a way. Like, if it turns out that someone takes their shot in the dark and actually gets safety, then I'm gonna be like, ooh, this is interesting. It'll maybe change the way things happen. I don't know.
Ooh.
I don't feel like it's gonna impact the game all that heavily. If I'm honest, I just don't think it.
I mean, it'll only impact it, like you say, if the person who feels like they're going to go takes the shot in the dark, is safe, they don't have a vote. So who did everybody vote for? Did everybody vote for this person? Yeah. Do we have to do a revote now? Like,
well, it would have been interesting had Zach actually gotten the shot in the dark, because he doesn't. He
does not.
He gets voted out 5-0. It's one of the few times we see an actually unanimous vote. And I kind of felt bad. But I was also like, you did it to yourself.
You did it to yourself, Zach. You played too hard right out the gate.
I will say, him being a super fan, I followed him on Twitter. Again, a really cute decision. I think he's a lovely person. But he tweeted shortly after his elimination that he had written himself notes for when he got off based on where he got eliminated, which is probably something I would do, honestly.
I would not.
Again, something I probably would have done, just as like a pep up sort of thing. And he posted one of them, and it was obviously first boot, because he was the first person voted out.
Yes.
He's the second person eliminated, but he was the first person voted out of the game. And it was like, his note was like first boot. And it was like, wow, Zach, you must have messed something up seriously bad, or something like that. Like, that was like the vibe. And I was like, oh, honey. Oh, I'm sad to see him go, but it was all rookie mistakes, and that takes you out of the game sometimes.
I really wasn't that sad to see Zach go. I mean, unfortunately, I didn't. I appreciate the fact that he was a super fan. I appreciated that fact. I just feel like he did what most super fans do, and they just played too hard out the gate.
Yeah.
And then when you mentioned, once you say Drea's name, for me, I'm like,
fair. I mean, I would have preferred the alternative in that voting scenario.
Yes, I understand. I would have been fine with that too, but I feel like her time is surely coming soon. I don't think.
Well, here's the thing. I think if the Ika Wong tribe goes back to tribal, it's either her or Rox.
Mm-hmm.
Like, very much so.
Very much so.
We get the preview for next week doesn't really show all that much, though we do get a funny moment with Marianne where I think it's Jackson and Lindsay sitting on the beach. It has nothing to do with game, but it's Jackson and Lindsay sitting on the beach, and Marianne is like chopping away at this bamboo. And Jonathan makes a comment like, you look like completely lighthearted. He's like, you look like someone out of a horror movie. And then she looks up and she's like, here's Marianne holding this giant machete. And I just love her. I love her so much. But yeah, I thought overall this premiere had its high highs and its low lows. And it's kind of everything I wanted to see out of a Survivor premiere. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we've seen 41. And since this is pretty much 41 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
I like when all the twists popped up, I was like, yep, okay, yep, checking off the boxes. Mm-hmm, yep, crap. We didn't talk about the amulets. I just remembered.
Oh, the amulets.
So the amulet twist. So it's the one, so Drea, Lindsay, and Hai have the amulets, the amulet, whatever. So you have, it's kind of an idol, not really. I like this twist, I will say. But so you have to, if you're gonna play an amulet, you have to play all of the ones left in the game at the same time. Mm-hmm. So If you have 3 amulets and you play it, it equals an extra vote. If you have 2 amulets and play them, it is equal to a steal a vote. And if you play, if there's 1 amulet left in the game, it's an idol.
Mm-hmm.
I love this. I think this is so complex and different.
Mm-hmm. Because it makes you think and play differently. Because you know who has the other 2. So now you have to decide, is it best to get rid of them so you can get down to 1 and have an idol? Or is it just best to use it as an extra vote or whatever, or still a vote? Now, this is where it gets interesting to me because Drea already has an extra vote.
Exactly.
So Drea honestly don't need another extra vote. So it's
unless she's really in the minority at some sort of merge situation and 2 votes can flip the whole thing. Like that's kind of where, like, if the 3 of them fall in some sort of minority by a few numbers, if you have 2 extra votes, hell, that's something.
Okay, so
I agree with you.
Yeah. And like you hold on to this amulet, I think, like to merge if you get it, because it's like you can't.
Unless there's a swap, it's literally just a piece of jewelry in your bag.
Right, because there's really nothing you can do with it until you either have all 3 with you or this down to 1.
Everyone's voted out.
Everybody's gone. So it's like you hold on to that thing to merge. And then that's when I feel like the decisions have to be made. Do I try to get out those 2 people or are they coming after me?
Yeah.
And I don't, it definitely makes it more complex, like you said, and definitely shows that they're going to have to rethink how they play this, because an idol would be amazing. You definitely want an idol in this game. You always want an idol in this game, but at what cost do you go for that idol?
Yeah, it's like, the thing I love the most about it is the fact that they all have to be played if they're in the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's the big thing for me, because it's like you said, it's either going to force these people to work together at a point where they can, or it's going to be a point of contention where like maybe 2 of them will want to vote out the other one so they have the joint advantage. Like, is something like that going to happen? I don't know. I'm excited to see it. I think it's a really fun and different twist that makes this season different from 41 already. I'm very excited to see how it plays out. So as long as we don't have that stupid, if you're first out of the immunity challenge, you have a 33% chance of getting voted out that Deshaun had. As long as we don't have that, I don't care. But
I think that's going to come back. I think we're going to get that back again.
I absolutely agree. But regardless, that was our 2-hour premiere, our episode being almost as long as the episode was. But that is what we think of episode 1 of Survivor 42. Let us know in the comments and on Twitter what y'all think. Subscribe, like, follow, share on your way out. And cheers with my mug, because you have nothing in your cup today.
Nope. But I do have a cup.
Great. I'm out of stuff in my cup, but cheers.
Cheers.
Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Stan Marianne for clear skin.